In today's uncertain economic climate, with rising inflation, job insecurity, and geopolitical tensions, it's easy to feel as if you're on a sinking ship. Fear and anxiety can grip your heart, leading you to make impulsive financial decisions. Many couples are turning to excessive spending as a coping mechanism, believing that it's a solution to their problem, but in reality, it's a trap. There's a spending phenomenon that's becoming more and more common: doom spending, or what I like to call spending your way to ruin. If you've been feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders and finding yourself or your spouse spending impulsively as a way to cope, this video is for you. Doom spending is a form of emotional spending where people overwhelmed by fear or uncertainty turn to excessive buying as a way to feel in control. The logic is often, if the world is falling apart around me, I might as well enjoy the moment today. Or if we just had this one thing, we'd feel so much better. But this mindset is a slippery slope. What starts as a small, harmless purchase can quickly spiral into a financial disaster, leading to mounting debt, strained marriages, and feelings of helplessness. So why do couples fall into this trap? There are a few reasons. First, we're living in unprecedented times, and it's normal to feel anxious. But instead of dealing with that anxiety in a healthy way, many couples are turning to spending as a quick fix. With constant exposure to negative news, it's easy to feel as if the world is ending. And when that fear takes hold, spending money can feel like an easy way to regain some control. It's almost like saying, if I can buy this, then things aren't that bad. But the reality is, this kind of spending rarely brings lasting satisfaction. Instead, it often leads to regret, guilt, and financial strain. I remember working with a couple. They were both professionals, earning well, but when the pandemic hit, they started to feel insecure about their future. Their solution? Online shopping sprees and expensive hobbies. At first, it felt really good, but soon their credit card debt started to pile up, and the stress between them began to grow. They didn't realize how deep they were in until they couldn't afford their mortgage payment, and it took them a long time to get back on the same track together in order to move forward. Let's talk about the emotional cycle behind doom spending. It often starts with fear and anxiety. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing your job, fear of not knowing how to provide for your family. To cope, you turn to spending. For a moment, it feels good. That hit of dopamine from making a purchase provides a temporary relief, but soon after, reality sets in. You realize that the purchase hasn't fixed your problems, it's only added to them. That leads to feelings of guilt and shame, which causes more anxiety, and the cycle continues. Let's break down the behavioral patterns of doom spending. You might notice certain triggers, like impulsive online shopping or frequent luxury purchases. These behaviors are often driven by emotions such as fear and anxiety. Small purchases can quickly escalate into larger spending sprees. This pattern not only affects your finances, but often creates significant relational consequences. Excessive spending can create huge emotional distances between spouses. Financial stress leads to trust issues, arguments, and a breakdown of communication. One spouse might feel neglected or betrayed by the other person's spending habits. One might find themselves seeking reassurance through spending, believing it will alleviate their anxiety. The other might withdraw emotionally and use spending as a way to avoid addressing their concerns. So, how do you break the cycle of doom spending? The first step is recognizing that it's happening. If you or your spouse are finding yourselves making purchases out of fear or anxiety, it's time to hit the pause button. Have an open and honest conversation with your spouse. Talk about the emotions that's driving your spending and acknowledge that it is a shared challenge. This isn't about blaming each other. It's about finding a solution together. Next, create a plan. Establish a budget plan that you both can get behind. Set spending limits and financial goals that prioritize long-term stabilization rather than short-term gratification. And remember, it's okay to treat yourselves every now and again. Just make sure that it's intentional and not impulsive. One way to stay on track is to schedule financial check-ins with one another. This doesn't have to be a heavy conversation, just a quick review of your budgets and your goals to make sure you both are aligned and holding each other accountable in a very supportive way. In addition to breaking doom spending, it's also important to prepare for future uncertainty. This might mean setting up an emergency fund, finding ways to diversify your income, or creating a long-term financial plan that can weather the ups and downs of the economy. By being proactive, you'll feel more secure and less tempted to spend impulsively. Finally, replace doom spending with healthy coping mechanisms. When you feel the urge to spend, try and recognize that underlying emotion. Are you feeling anxious, bored, or stressed? Once you recognize it, find a healthy way to cope. This could be going for a walk, talking to your spouse about your concerns, or even engaging in an activity that doesn't involve money. By redirecting your energy into something more positive, you'll be less likely to fall into the trap of spending. Taking care of your emotional health is just as important as taking care of your finances. Practices like mindfulness, journaling, or even seeking professional counseling can help you address the underlying stresses that's driving you to spend. This can help couples strengthen their marriage and move towards a more secure, balanced way of relating to each other. Doom spending might feel like a way to take control in uncertain times, but in reality, it's a path to ruin. By recognizing the signs, talking openly with your spouse, and finding healthier ways to cope, you can avoid this trap and build a more secure financial future together. Remember, these habits can either build your marriage or tear it apart. And the good news is you do have control over how all of this plays out. But this is just one part of the conversation. If you're looking for another way to deepen your connection and take control of your financial future, then you'll definitely want to check out my most recent video where I share how my husband and I discovered a transformative budgeting method. It completely shifted not only our finances, but our relationship and now our marriage. We went from feeling disconnected and stressed about money to building joyful, lasting memories together. It's a practical and emotional shift that could be the key to reigniting your bond and aligning your financial goals as a couple. Click on that next video and I'll show you how to turn your budget into a tool that brings you and your spouse closer than ever. Together, you can unlock the true power to financial harmony.